I want to welcome you to Dream Chasers Radio with me, your host, Yaya Diamond. What's up, peoples? How you doing? I have been looking forward to this interview for a minute. I am telling you, this interview is talking about yourself, talking about relationships. I mean, we are going through some really cool moments in life right now, and relationships is a big deal. So we're gonna go through ahead and go and have Nick the Soul Whisperer is on. I love that name. Love it. Oh my gosh.
Diamond, thank you so much for the privilege to engage in the conversation with you. Relationships is address it, and a lot of people are getting, some movement and some good advice. Which is the beginning part of having functionality in relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the short version.
That is the short version. Wow.
Well, that was the first 3 months of now. I just realized a couple months ago, I'm just like a year shy of 4 decades.
My goodness. So with all of that experience that you have talking about relationships, let me ask you this big question. What is the biggest topic that you face every time you talk to somebody? What is the most common thing that is predominantly something that you face when you coach?
Well, sex and money are the vulnerable
I mean, I don't think that everybody can resolve their relationships. I mean, I don't believe that everybody kind of, can rectify the situation. But what kind of an issue would present itself that they could resolve their issues, that they could become better at relationships with each other?
Well, irreconcilable differences are really interesting. That was the game plan. Bring your list of resentments. And we only had to resolve one or two resentments from they didn't want to go back together. Like one of them didn't want to. And so the point of the matter is that, yes, sometimes it's appropriate and it's obvious and to give and receive love to that person that they almost always, in my experience, almost always stay together.
I have one comment on Facebook, and it says, Mark Goudreau says, don't believe it. Mark, you need to explain to me, what do you mean by don't believe it? I do have a question, though. And I think this is a big question when it comes to relationships.
Will you remember your question? Because I'd like to talk about don't believe it for a moment.
Yeah, no. I can remember my question. You go right ahead.
Let me try to just take a breath and do this a little bit different. The way that they're seeing it's still true. But the bottom line is that, take it to your own.
That's okay. That's fine. That's fine. That's good. Great advice. Mark, I hope you heard that. And if you didn't, I hope you go back and listen to his explanation because, hey, yeah, you did it. Talking about relationships, it's not just marriage relationships too. It's business partnerships. We're talking about relationships in general. I mean, when you have a business partnership and do you grow apart? Do you have people that come to you with their partner in business and complain about them?
Yeah. I've got to feel this close to you, or I don't feel loved, and I can't let you stay inside your box. And once you don't stay inside your box, I will overtly and covertly, can I swear and say, punish your ass until you get back inside your box. And there's a lot of ways that relationships are playing out like that. And again, don't believe me. Take it to your relationships and start to look and see if that's not true. See if the word love doesn't shift something. See if the word commitment doesn't shift something. Because for a lot of people, that's a defense mechanism to maintain the feeling that was in the beginning good, which only lasts for about a year, clinically and statistically. Again, don't believe what I say. Now going back more directly to your question, is that if that investment of love, if the depth of love isn't there, usually they can work out their issues. But a lot of times what business partners do is that they engage themselves with somebody unconsciously to do the part of the business that they aren't doing or can't do or don't see to do or don't want to do. And it's usually not a conscious thing. It's more like, hey, let's run this business. You get 50, I get 50, and we go from there. But yet nobody likes to do the sales work or whatever it happens to be. So yes, sometimes that can happen. Yes, you want it, but those are a little bit easier to pinpoint because it becomes pretty clear really simply that, hey, I don't want to do the banking. Well, I don't want to do the banking either. Okay, well, now what do you do in your partnership? And those are easier to resolve because they don't have all those unmet childhood needs wrapped up into it.
Right. And we did have some technical issues a little bit before. Can you do me a favor and answer that question again? Don't believe it, because I think we had a problem with the audio. It kept going in and out for some reason, and I'm not really sure why. So, Mark, you're going to get answered again, hopefully. Can we do that again?
This is the don't believe it part?
Don't believe it. Yes, don't believe it part.
Whoa. Well, I'm not sure that I can because I did it in the moment, but I'll try to at least address it again. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, please don't be sorry, because it just, see, what it does for me is it triggers my own inadequacy, because I want to do this really good. I want to make this really great for all of us. And I know that I was kind of rolling with something then that came out decently. I'm not sure that I can put myself back in the same place that I was in then. But let's see what we get.
Okay.
So, don't believe it is the only advice that I'm currently liking. Advice is based on somebody who thinks they know something, but they know something based on their values. They know something based on how they learn. They know something based on their opinion, and they know something based on their history. And very few people are in the same part of that. And so that's why if you watch when people give advice, almost always the other person doesn't take it. And particularly the more love that's involved, the more they don't take it. And so what do you do with this whole thing about giving advice? And when people share something, they also share it from a perspective of where they're at with it. They share it from where they're at with their unresolved emotional baggage, with their hurt and trauma from their current partner, and they're also bringing their last relationship pain into this mix somehow too. And so they're going to tell you how it is for them or to their partner, shaped on what's unfinished for them and shaped on what doesn't get resolved for them, which is why when you listen to divorce attorneys and you listen to people in conflict and you listen to two sides of the story, even if it's not lovers, in fact, I'm glad I get to do this again, because here's some other really good points, is that even when it's not lovers and it's just two people witnessing something, they don't see the same thing. What they see, in fact, and sometimes I've heard, I don't know what's true. I don't believe it because I don't know what's true. But sometimes even in police interrogations, the eyewitnesses make the worst subjects and are the least valued evidence, because it's so much shaped by how it occurs for the person. And so let me see if I can make the point a little bit clearer and quicker now. So and this is one of the things that has to happen for relationships, is you want to find out what each person's reality is and honor each person's reality at the same time with equal validity in the same space. I know I mixed up topics, but now let me go back and do the don't believe anything. So it's going to be, the don't believe it is because it's going to be shaped by the person's opinion and what's going on for them. And the other person's going to have a different opinion. And rarely is it based on only what's true. Rarely is it based on just the facts. Rarely is it based just on what's so. It's based on the issues that they have with that person that's in relationship. And when they're not in relationship, it's still opinion. And so don't believe anything is the only advice that I'm liking, and it's the only, and I say that, and I've said that for at least 25 years. I said that every time I got in front of a room. Don't believe it. Don't believe me. Don't believe the therapist. Don't believe the book. My psychology teacher in college said, don't believe what's written in this book. It's just because somebody wrote it doesn't mean it's true, just because it's. So, yeah, I think I've said enough about that now. Take it to your own laboratory and look and see in silence and in quiet, without, in a moment where you can actually look with fresh eyes and go, what part of this might be true in my life?
Right. I want to apologize for the technical difficulty, guys. We're working on it, and we got all of that. I think we got it resolved where you're just watching me, and it's okay because we have Nick on the phone, and Nick is an amazing coach. I want to go ahead and just kind of put his banner up behind me real quick. I'm going to take myself out so that. Give me 1 second. I think I got it right. So whenever I take myself out of the picture, it's not supposed to mute my microphone, but it does. So that was what was going on. But I'm so happy to have Nick here. He's talking about relationships. We're talking about not only just relationship, but relationships in the home, and they can be affected by business relationships. So if you're at work, a lot of times, like Nick was saying earlier, it might conflict with the person, your significant other, saying, "Hey, you're not home with me enough. You're not with the family enough." It can be really big conflict. So Nick, let me ask you a question. Now that we know a lot of different conflicts, let me ask you, what kind of a conflict does it cause when a person really doesn't regard themselves as anything and they try to get into a relationship?
When you say they don't regard themselves as anything, you're talking about some version of low self-esteem?
Correct.
It doesn't manifest in a particular way or a particular flavor. It takes its own, it grows its own identity. It grows its own, it buds its own unique flower. And so, that flower has ways that attract people, and that flower has ways that smell bad to other people. And so why it's so important, in my opinion, to heal predispositions is because whatever that low self-esteem does, makes you not talk, makes you lie, whatever it is that it does, it can do hundreds of different things. Hundreds might be an exaggeration, so maybe I just lied, so don't believe me. Just a clear example. But it can cause a variety of different kinds of dysfunctions. And so again, you can work on the dysfunctions and you can work on those kinds of issues, but it's really important to heal the predisposition of low self-esteem.
I mean, we have a lot of people out there that don't have not been able to get in a relationship because they have that low self-esteem, or they don't think themselves hot, I guess they don't want to think that they would be how would I put this? There is no other way of saying it, but they just don't think that they should reward themselves or be in a relationship because they don't think that they should be. What do we say to those people out there? Should they get counseling? Should they get therapy? Should they get coaching?
Well, this is one of the hardest questions I have that people ask me, because they cannot do it themselves, or they would have done it. And they do need some type of facilitation. And unfortunately, I don't know very many people that are competent enough to actually, I know lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of people in the field that can do a piece of self-esteem based on their own personal history, based on the way that they transformed that or dealt with that, and maybe they managed the circumstances of it, or maybe they did some transformational work, and maybe they can offer it in a way that can help some people at certain aspects of their in certain times in their life. But I don't know that many really good people. In fact, I only know 4, and 2 of them aren't around anymore. But at the end of the day, you have to find somebody that can help you, because I want to say this in a clear way. You can't do, in my opinion, if you've tried a bunch of things for a while and you have something like low self-esteem, the way that you got the low self-esteem is going to be the kind of thinking that you're going to bring to how did I get myself out of it. So it is how you wound up being, and the way that you think and who you are is going to influence your strategy to get out. And at best, you're going to do some version of more, better, and different of strategies that you've tried at the end of the day in the past. But at the end of the day, you're still going to have low self-esteem for those people that it's a chronic condition for. So, what I would say is find a way to find somebody that can do, that has, I'm just looking to see how much I want to say. Some people can help with some aspects of that, so find somebody that can facilitate with you, that you resonate with, and get it done piece by piece until it's done. That's what I would say.
I gotcha.
I would say give Yaya Diamond your email address, because we're going to be doing projects together.
That's right.
Her and I I promise we'll take care of some of those predispositions. That's what I would say.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and put my email address up on the screen right now so you guys can actually go ahead and email me and let me know that you have a question for the Soul Whisperer, or you would like your, a question answered. We're also taking questions right now, and we are live on Facebook, on YouTube, on Periscope, on Twitch, on all as many places as I can get it. And also, if you're catching this interview later on and you missed the live version, don't worry. Just make your comment or email me, and we'll get that question out to him. Not an issue. It's so funny how you can feel so guilty sometimes for not being there for your significant other, but you believe like you're doing something for the family, you're doing something for the children or for your wife, or you're building a business or whatever. What kind of a suggestion do you give to those people? Do they need to schedule in some time for their family?
So you just hit a really, really important topic, and we've been picking up on what I'm going to call masculine side, the provider, the person that is producing the results, and their commitment is to the quality of life in the family and the resources to do that. And it's a very critical piece, and rarely, I'm looking at how to say this because this I could talk about for a long time. So the masculine side is producing the result. The feminine side is it wants the relationship, wants the connection. So here's what those kinds of fights look like. Spending time with the family, or I love this example because at least for me, the way I listen to things, it's a perfect example. The fight about the toothpaste cap. The toothpaste cap, I have been asking you for 15 years, why can't you put the cap on the toothpaste? And she goes, or he goes, because, the man can have a more feminine energy or essence, and the woman can have a more masculine essence. So, but the person with the results is, demanding and frustrated and arguing and having some dilemmas about why can't you? And the one with the feminine energy goes, see, there you go again. Get out of my bathroom when you talk to me like this, because she doesn't feel the connection. She doesn't feel the being honored and the relationship and the love. And she's trying to and committed to bringing love, and he's committed to bringing functionality. And that fight will go on forever until somebody figures out, or somebody gets facilitated to, when the masculine wants the result, help them produce it, because they ain't going anywhere toward love or connection. They're going to call it crazy, or can call it crazy, or call it emotional, and she's not going to even consider. She might I'm not saying this is just, she might want to throw the toothpaste out. Forget the cap, I'm putting it into the garbage. And so whoever figures it out first, give the person the love and connection. Just look at the possible difference if somebody said, oh my God, I'm so sorry I'm still doing that. Let's work on a strategy to get that toothpaste. Or the other person says, you know what, I've been treating you really bad about this for 20 years. Let's talk about what damage that's done to our relationship and what kind of trust you've lost in me and how much connection you don't feel because I've been yelling at you about silly ass. See the difference in the two options?
Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
And so every single fight is about when you have resentments, that's one of the things that's in every resentment. One person is looking for a result, and one person is looking for a connection. And by the way, you can interimly solve any relationship problem just with that alone. But it doesn't get predispositions, it doesn't get to the emotional baggage, and it doesn't get to the way that you're making your partner wrong. So all those things got to be taken into consideration and danced with and facilitated properly so that I stop making you wrong, so that I honor the masculine and feminine in both of us, and so that I learn how to be with your unresolved emotional baggage, and more importantly, what the hell is my unresolved emotional baggage, because it's really easy for me to point out yours. Look how insecure you are again, when really I'm just a dominant, whatever. There's two sides to every story, and it's always easy to see somebody else's issues. It's a lot harder to see my own.
Yeah.
That was a lot of mouthful. I'm going to stop and see what you do with all that.
But you're right. You're totally right. It's like, okay, so someone is nitpicking at someone else because this is their pet peeve, but maybe the other person doesn't have that resolve. Maybe they don't have that issue with themselves. Maybe it doesn't bother them. So should we really be thinking about that? I mean, is that something that's going to damage your relationship so much that they want to divorce or they want to break up?
I'm sorry, I missed the question. Is what going to cause a divorce?
Like the toothpaste, with the top on the toothpaste or something silly.
I don't know, Yaya, that the toothpaste is going to cause a divorce. But what I can tell you is that each time it happens, there's a grain of sand of resentment that goes in the hourglass. And when enough toothpaste cap things, whether it's the toothpaste or the garbage or the bank account or the kids going to school or who picks them up or, what we make for dinner, when you get enough of those, somebody is going to take themselves and reduce the amount of love that they take in and reduce the amount of love that they give. And, so somebody's going to either eventually remove some aspect of their heart or commitment to the relationship.
I literally think that our relationships begin with not trusting the person, but building trust. What do you say to that?
That our relationship, me and you, or that somebody's relationship?
Any relationship. It doesn't really matter. Trust is earned, right? And it's not like given at the point of, conception or the point of.
Here's the dilemma. What's the frame of reference for trust? Because people have trust and surrender backwards. And people, if you're not taking into effect the masculine side of result and the feminine side of relationship, and what are you saying that you'll trust me for? That's kind of a specific thing, because if you're trusting the person not to hurt you, you can rest assured that you're going to be hurt. And if you're trusting the person to not make a toothpaste cap error, you can rest assured that's going to fail. So it's really cool to build trust and be doing something consciously and deliberately, because it's really helpful if you have a purpose to your relationship. If the purpose to your relationship is to raise a family, that would be really cool. But one thing that could cause an irreconcilable difference that would be useful to part company is if I'm committed to build a family and you're committed to explore the world with a partner to exotic places, maybe building a family in exotic places, travel, 9 months a year, maybe those two don't go together, maybe. And so trust is a really great thing to build, but what are we committing to trust? What are we using for reference points to trust? So I love the part that we're doing something deliberately. I love that we're trying to build trust, but what's the strategy to build it, and what are we trusting the person for?
Right. What is the basis of our relationship? I mean, what is the deepest basis? I mean, because people break up for stupid reasons. Sometimes it blows my mind that they would let it get that far. But what is the foundation or the one thing that we should all be looking for when we have a relationship with someone else?
Well, I want to go back to people get divorced over the silliest things, because it's the toothpaste cap issue again. Whether it's the toothpaste cap, or whether it's that they won't lock the door when they come in, or whether it's that they leave the lights on, or that's just the thing they do the most of, or that's just the thing that they did for the last year after the resentments is built. But remember, each time you have an unresolved resentment, and each time you have a piece of unfinished business, slowly but surely it's going to take up the space that the relationship occupies, and pretty soon there's not going to be enough space for both people or one person to be able to give and receive love anymore. So it can be a stupid reason like lights on. It can be a stupid reason like toothpaste caps. So again, unresolved, resentments is the thing that I think is critical. Don't let unresolved resentments happen. I don't, see, this is advice, and I don't want to even start to sound like that. But here's what I will say about it: is that if you want to build trust, I think you'll trust me if I spend my time working on the one thing, the first thing that I did that stopped trust. The first.
No, what happened to Nick? I can't hear you, Nick. Well, we have, we've been plagued with a little bit of a technical difficulty here at this particular show today, and we're going to go ahead and continue to try and get Nick back. There you go. Nick, you cut off there. You cut off there.
Okay, let me see if I can kind of jump myself back. If I'm...
And then he cut off again. No! Okay, so Nick, you're cutting in and out.
Yeah, I don't know what I can do about that. If you want, I can call you back.
Yeah, let's get you called back. Go ahead and call me back.
Okay, I'm going to call you right back.
Okay. Well, while Nick calls back into the studio, we're going to go ahead and say that, relationships takes work. You have to first take work on yourself. So that way, when you get into a relationship, you are ready for it. It's something that, like Nick said, you have to get with someone. You can't do it alone. Don't try to do it alone. Get some help. Get someone to help you out with that. And I'm going to go ahead and answer this. Nick, you're back with us.
Let's see if you can hear me.
I can hear you just fine. And now he's gone. And now I can't hear him. Well, we're going to have to do this. We're going to have to do this another time. Nick, I think what's going on is that we're having a little bit of a plague of technical difficulty on the phone part. And so let me see if I can call him back and see if I can get him. So while we're doing that, I thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. Don't forget that you guys can ask me any question you would like, and we're going to go ahead and try to get Nick to answer any questions that he may have come up with.
Nick. Please leave a message.
Yeah, Nick's phone is acting up. So, it's interesting that we would have this problem, because I never have this problem. But getting back to what Nick was saying, if you have any questions or comments, please don't forget to leave them below, or you can email me.
Nick, please.
You can email me, and you can definitely get that question in, and I will have Nick answer the question. He does have his own life coaching business, and you can go to thesoulwhisperer.com to get in contact with him if you like. Hopefully he'll give me a call back. If not, then we'll go ahead and continue part 2, because I think that this is important, that we understand that relationships begin with ourselves. We have to begin with us before we can actually add anybody into the picture. And that can take a minute. But as far as not nitpicking and not being able to, being able to differentiate you being the issue, you not having the time, or it's the other person. And then not only that, knowing when to go into counseling, to go into therapy, to get help, that's going to be a big deal, especially with the toothpaste top. I was like, yeah, I never heard such a thing. But the toothpaste top, okay? So let me see if I can get Nick back in. Nick, are you coming back in? Because you keep cutting off.
Yeah, let's see if you can hear me now.
I can hear you, but let's see if you can stay that way.
Let's see if we can stay that way. I apologize, and I'm not moving, and I don't know what else I can do about it. I've tried 2 phones. So should we try the same resentment topic again? Yaya?
Yes, we're going to go right back into it. Thank you guys so much for staying with us.
Yeah, you're welcome. I apologize that I can't make a better internet connection.
That's okay.
Here's what the real point is. At the end of the day is
you ask me for advice. The closest I can get to advice is don't let resentments build. And if whoever has the resentment, if their partner shows interest in trying to resolve that resentment over time and doesn't give up on trying to do that, you're going to have a lot more trust for them, even if they don't solve that issue. And I think it's really important to solve. So the two things are, don't let them occur, don't let them build up, resolve them. And the second part of it is, even if you can't resolve them, stay in the conversation so that your partner knows and gets it, that for the guy that you appreciate them and accept them, and for the woman that you care and understand and respect them. That's critical for those people.
Mm. That is critical. That's critical. Nick, we're going to have to do this again because I want to make sure that we kind of go over all the questions that we may get. Like I said before, if you guys have any questions, don't forget to email me, and then we can actually address those questions in our next talking about relationships. Also, we have a few other different things that are coming up, and Nick is a part of it. I'm so excited to have Nick on board with it. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things. And like I said, if you need a coach, you need to get with Nick, because Nick is the guy. And I also put the website up there. It's the Soul Whisperer, WHISPER.com. And get with him. Nick, what would be your advice for relationships and keeping them? It's hard. I mean, if you find yourself with the one person that you love, but you're messing it up, how can you resolve that? How can you keep that, save it?
Well, you're really asking the same question because it's a resentment issue.
Oh my goodness.
But also too, it's what is it that we're doing together? What is the purpose? I'm telling you, this is a true story. I know a guy that had a bunch of divorces, and he got divorced because he was not sexually loyal to his partner. Different. I got mixing up two stories. He got divorced a bunch, and she never was divorced, and everybody was telling her, the new one, don't go with him, don't go with him, don't go with him. And I asked them both, and because he was a personal friend of mine for a while, and I said, well, why are you getting married? He goes, I just want to settle down. I want to stay home at night. I want to be with somebody, and to have someone to share the evening with and relax and do things at home. And I asked her, I didn't have quite the level of intimacy with her that I did with him, but I asked her, why are you marrying him? And she says, we go out all the time. He's got money, and we go good places. And I'm tired of staying home at night, and I want to start going out at night more. And so now, what is the purpose of the relationship? Is the point of it? And so, is the purpose to go explore nightlife? Is the purpose to travel the world? Is the purpose for personal growth? Is the purpose to run a business? Is the purpose to raise a family? So, we go on all these dates and we do all these things, and, in the back of our mind, we know what we want. And, there's some kind of social indoctrination of marriage and 2.5 kids and white picket fence and some 2.5 kind of whatever it is, you have that backdrop listening, but you don't have a real deliberately chosen purpose. So number one, do that, and number two, don't let the resentments build. And almost everything that you asked me, and almost every illustration, I could come back to the toothpaste cap, because if you're messing up, there's trust issues, but trust over what? I'm trusting him not to hurt me, and I'm trusting her to appreciate me, or some version of that. So you have to have reference points for what you're building trust for. You have to have reference points for what the purpose of the relationship is. If the purpose of the relationship is to build trust, great. How do we know when we're doing that?
Right. Well, so you've been doing this for a minute, and I'm glad that you're doing this for as long as you've been doing it, 3 decades, you told me earlier. But I want to ask you a question. What do women want, and what do men want, and how can they rectify it? And how would I put this? How can women understand what men want from them, and how can men understand what women want from them, so that the relationship can be better?
Yeah, it's so good. If you get people who are interested, I actually do have an MP3 that answers all these questions in a way that'll do better, even better than what I'm doing today, because also what we're doing today is exactly the same thing, because the woman wants relationship. The feminine energy wants connection. The feminine energy wants care, understanding, and respect. Care, understanding, and respect is what I can relate to with my feminine side. It's what I can trust. It's when I feel connected. That's when I'm open. That's where my sexual energies will flow. And what the man's looking for in an oversimplistic model is trust, acceptance, and appreciation. And when those two things are happening, that relationship will flourish. And when trust issues start is when the man's not feeling trust, accepted, or appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
And each time that happens, there's a grain of sand of resentment that builds, that breaks more trust. And when I don't feel care as a woman, there's a feminine side, when I don't feel cared about, when I don't feel understood, and when I don't, and this, by the way, this is John Gray's work, in case anybody wants to, that's old, it's Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and he's now doing other work, but it's brilliant work. And you can solve any relationship problem with this one too. You can solve any relationship problem with Gary Chapman's love languages. You can solve any relationship problem with Harville Hendricks mirroring and imago therapy, and you can solve any relationship problem with Marshall Rosenberg's work, because it gets at the resentments. It gets at, some of them don't have the same terminology, but what you're doing is building care, understanding, and respect for the woman. You're doing trust, acceptance, and appreciation for the man, and you're resolving the resentments. So resolving the resentments is the key issue. And what women want is, in the simple answer that everything that you'll ask me, I'm going to keep coming back to it time and time again, because it becomes an unresolved resentment will build up enough that comes from not care, lack of care, understanding, respect, trust, acceptance, and appreciation, until one person removes themselves enough from the relationship that there's no longer a real connection available.
Wow. So okay, but it all begins with you loving yourself and trusting yourself enough to have that self-confidence.
I don't know that I want to say that it starts there, because I think that there's a subculture that will say that's true.
Okay.
And I'm going to go with whatever that person's advice was. Don't believe anything. Is it really true? I'm not sure that it's true, because I was not able to love myself in a bunch of ways, and yet I could still give care, understanding, and respect.
Wow.
And how I'm gonna love myself is if I give care, understanding, and respect, and I get trust, acceptance, and appreciation back, I'm going to start to have a connection with myself that I think if we were talking about not loving myself, forgot what the thing was for a moment. But I'm going to start to love myself if I've got somebody. The only reason I didn't love myself is at the end of the day, I didn't feel trusted, accepted, and appreciated.
Wow.
So you can heal any predisposition with that. You can heal any predisposition of, not worthy of whatever it is, if you function in relationship in a way that balances and takes into consideration honoring masculine and feminine energy equally. And we're putting both people's realities must occupy the same space at the same time with equal validity. And when those things happen, you will actually expand beyond what your predispositions were, but you have to do the work to get yourself to a place where you have strategies to resolve those resentments.
Wow. That's a mouthful.
Yeah.
That's a big mouthful.
You bring this out in me every single time we talk, and I love it, because it allows me to fully self-express in a relatively comprehensive manner. And I actually forgot I had that MP3, but that MP3 that I have, and we can get it to you or however you want to use that, but just so that you know, I can't think of a question that MP3 doesn't answer. It's about an hour long, and it had a more focused view, but it takes into effect all these things that we talked about and puts it in some kind of format that seems to be palatable for people.
Right. Well, I want to say, people, if you want that MP3, go ahead and email me. I will make sure that Nick gets that request, and then you guys can talk, because then I can just kind of step out of it. Or they can go to the soulwhisperer.com, right?
No. Let's do it this way, because I want to continue our exploration of how to do projects together.
Definitely.
So you and I can come up with a special price to offer this to people, because it's not a cheap MP3.
I got you.
At that point, it was 35 years of research went into it.
Wow.
And so we can do some kind of special that they can get it through you, and we'll work out those details. Okay.
So stay tuned. Go ahead and go to dreamchasersradio.com and sign up for our mailing list. That's going to be on the Dream Chasers Radio page. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of type in here www.dcradio.podcast.com. So it's Dream Chasers Radio, dcradiopodcast.com. That way you guys can sign up for the email list, because I don't use my email a lot, but when I do, I send out lots of specials. So you want to keep yourself registered and subscribed to that email. Matt, I tell you, is there anything that you want to say today to our listeners that we didn't get a chance to say or answer?
I think that if I sit back and take a breath, I think we gave them lots and lots to digest. And I don't know that it'd be how helpful it would be to add more. And so I just want to wind down by saying that I appreciate the privilege to, do this with you, Yaya. The way that we engage, just every single time I've done this, from the first day I met you, it opens up some really big topics for people, and relationships are where people are struggling the most. And, the divorce rate is high, and even if you don't get divorced, some of the people are not getting divorced because they don't see a functional way out for them, or that it costs too much money or costs too much something, so they stay where they don't really want to be. That if they were free, they wouldn't choose being in that environment tomorrow. So I think we did for me, it's your group of people. I have no idea, but I think you did a terrific job. I think we covered some good ground, and I look forward to whatever it is that we do next together.
Definitely, Nick. And I want to thank you so much. That was the Soul Whisperer, and you guys can get him at thesoulwhisperer.com, thesoulwhisperer.com, if you want some more, if you want to go into depth with that, or you can go ahead and just sign up on our podcast for the newsletter, so that when we do send out notifications, you will be notified. Subscribe, like, and comment to this video. If you have any questions, don't forget to email me at dreamchasersradio@gmail.com. Nick, I'm thanking you so much for being on the show. Sorry for the technical difficulties we had at the beginning. That will be edited out and re-uploaded to our YouTube channel on Dream Chasers Radio. So if you want to get the really cool spots and the most important parts of this entire interview, please go ahead and subscribe there to Dream Chasers Radio on YouTube. Nick, thank you so much.
You are most welcome.
I'm looking forward to the next time, Nick. You bring it all out on me. I tell you, I can't believe it's been almost an hour.
My pleasure. Thank you for letting me.
Thank you. And thank you guys for tuning in to Dream Chasers Radio. And if you missed this broadcast, don't worry. It's going to still be there with all the errors until I take it down and reload it. So go ahead and watch, and speed up to speed up to it. You'll find it. All right, guys. Until next time, don't forget to dare to be different. I dare to be different.